You won't believe how a single shy nursing student changed the entire course of her life in just 24 hours. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll see how one small act of kindness can turn into something far bigger than any of us imagine. So before we dive in, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel because stories like this deserve to be heard, and you don't want to miss what comes next. It started on a quiet, foggy morning in the small city of Riverside. Amara, a first-year nursing student, hurried down the cracked pavement with her backpack bouncing lightly against her shoulder. She was painfully shy, one of those students who always sat at the back of the lecture hall, avoided eye contact, and whispered her answers even when she knew them. Today was supposed to be her first real clinical shift at the hospital. She had ironed her scrubs the night before, slept early, packed her stethoscope, and practiced introducing herself in the mirror like it was a life-or-death moment. Her heart thumped as she walked, rehearsing the words she would say to the supervising nurse. "Good morning, I'm Amara, the nursing student assigned to your unit." Even saying it aloud made her cheeks flush. She knew how important today was. Missing the shift would mean losing her chance, maybe even repeating the semester. But fate had already decided that Amara's day would unfold very differently. As she turned into a narrow street shortcut, she heard what sounded like a grunt of pain. She slowed, eyes wide, peeking around a row of parked cars. A man sat slumped against the wall, clutching his forearm. Blood seeped through his sleeve, darkening the fabric. His breathing was quick, uneven. Amara froze. She wasn't supposed to intervene outside of the hospital as students weren't allowed, technically, and she was already running late. But then he looked up. It wasn't the blood that stopped her. It was the expression in his eyes, of fear mixed with helplessness. The way someone looks when they no longer know where to turn. "Please see broken bar, I just need help," he whispered. Amara's hands trembled. Her mind raced with warnings, policies, the risk of missing her clinical shift. But her heart took command before her fear could win. She knelt beside him. "I'm a nursing student," she said softly, her voice shaky. "Let me see your arm." The wound was deep. It looked like he had scraped it against something sharp. She pulled out the small first aid kit she always kept in her backpack. Her mother used to tell her, a healer must always be prepared, even when the world isn't. She cleaned the wound carefully, whispering reassurance the whole time, though she wasn't sure who she was trying to calm, worry him or herself. The man watched her with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara," she murmured. "You've got steady hands, Amara. You're good at this." She felt heat rush to her face again. "I'm still learning." When she finished bandaging him, she helped him stand and insisted he go to a clinic for proper treatment. He nodded, thanked her again, and slowly walked away. Only then did she check the time. She had missed her clinical shift by more than an hour. Her stomach dropped. Her heart sank. She knew what this meant. She tried to run to the hospital anyway, but her supervisor shook her head gently. "Amara, I'm sorry, we can't take you in today. This will have consequences." The disappointment was crushing. She cried the entire way home, convinced she had ruined everything. Her parents tried to comfort her, but she barely said a word that night. She lay awake wondering whether kindness had cost her future. She never imagined the next day would change everything. When morning sunlight spilled through her window, Amara dragged herself out of bed, preparing to meet with the department head who would decide her penalty for missing her shift. She walked into the administrative office, her hands clasped nervously. "Please wait inside," the secretary told her. When she stepped into the office, she froze. Sitting across from the department head was the man she had helped beat up the stranger with the injured arm. But he didn't look like a stranger now. He wore a crisp suit, his posture confident, eyes warm with recognition. "Amara," he said, standing up, "I told you you had steady hands." Confusion washed over her. What are you doing here?" The department head smiled awkwardly. "Amara, this is Mr. Rayhan Malik." The name hit her like a shockwave. Rayhan Malik was the CEO and founder of Riverside Healthcare Group, the very corporation that funded her nursing program scholarships and clinical rotations. He was practically a legend in the city. "I wanted to personally speak on her behalf," Rayhan continued. Yesterday, I wasn't just some man on the street. I was someone who desperately needed help, and she didn't hesitate. She missed her clinical shift because she chose humanity. The room fell silent. Rayhan turned to the department head. If this program aims to train compassionate nurses, then punishing her for showing compassion would be ironic, don't you think? The department head cleared his throat. Well, a broken bar considering the circumstances. We can make an exception. Amara felt tears swell in her eyes, not of fear this time, but relief so sharp it almost hurt. But Rayhan wasn't finished. Amara, he said gently, you didn't know who I was, and you didn't care. You helped me because it was the right thing to do. That kind of heart is rare. I'd like to offer you a part-time internship at our community clinic. Paid, flexible hours. You'll get real experience here with the mentor. And if you accept, I'd like to personally sponsor the rest of your studies. Her breath caught. Why broken bar? Why would you do that? He smiled softly. Because the world needs nurses like you. And because yesterday, when I felt helpless, you saw me not as a CEO, not as a stranger but as a human being. Tears streamed down her cheeks. She accepted with a shaking voice. Word of her kindness spread across the campus. Professors who barely knew her name suddenly greeted her with respect. Students who never noticed her quiet presence started seeking her out. But most importantly, something inside Amara changed. She stood a little taller, spoke a little stronger, believed in herself a little more. In the months that followed, she thrived at the clinic, growing confident not just in her skills but in her purpose. Rayhan often checked in on her progress, offering guidance without ever making her feel small. And every time Amara wrapped a bandage, comforted a patient, or stayed late to help a struggling family, she remembered that her journey began with one wounded stranger in a quiet alley. By the time she graduated as a registered nurse, she had become known for something far more powerful than grades, as she was the nurse who never walked past someone in need. And years later, when she stood on a stage receiving an award for exceptional community service, she looked into the crowd and saw Rayhan smiling proudly. She realized then that life has a strange way of rewarding good hearts, perhaps not immediately, perhaps not obviously, but always in ways we never expect. So if you're watching this and wondering whether your small kindness matters, remember Amara. Remember that the world changes starting with one choice, one moment, one hand extended to a stranger. And if this story touched your heart even a little, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There are countless untold stories of kindness waiting to be shared, and you won't want to miss the next one.